Next, we have Errant Packet speaking on Beyond Base-64 when your data starts getting emotional.
Hello, thank you everyone for coming after lunch, and hopefully everyone had a nice break and enjoyed the morning sessions. Please forgive me if I seem a little bit distracted. Just prior to this talk, I was stuck in the elevator for about 20 minutes, and fire and rescue had to come and do the whole typical, movie thing where, they crack open the door and you have to hop down the little difference in the floors. So that was fun and exciting and ran straight here. But it was nice to talk with some of the other fellow con-goers and meet them. And hopefully you're getting to meet some other amazing people while you're here. So quick introduction. I go by, let's see, on the schedule, they put me as TBA. I think I'll accept that as a new handle. I have no problem with it. I think it's amusing. Others may refer to me as EP or Errant Packet, but I'm an information security specialist focusing on application security in the financial sector. I've been in my role for a little over 8 years now, and prior to that, I had focused in enterprise architecture, IT as a whole, and a bit of side dabbling in development. It was never my formal training, but I always enjoyed it. My first language that I started playing with was basically, it was BASIC. And it was at that elementary level. It kind of grabbed me on that mentality and thought process. So working through how something is built. It's almost like that first exercise you may have done where it's explained very clearly, step by step, how to tie a shoe. And it ends up building and becoming very important. If you notice, I don't have the traditional slide deck. I'll just want to explain what you're seeing on the screen as I work through it so everyone can be on the same page. Standard IDE, this is Studio Code. Most are probably familiar. In the bottom left-hand corner, I'm running PresentTerm. It's an open source presentation software. So if you don't necessarily love to use PowerPoint or want to be drowning in that type of deck and you wish to have a technical presentation, I highly recommend it. You define your entire presentation in Markdown, and you have each page just as a simple dash, 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 and keep moving on through your presentation. Very effective. And then at the end of it, if you wanted to output to a website or PDF, very flexible because you start with Markdown. And then we obviously have just our terminal here on the right-hand side. Okay, so I also don't love slides. I did come a little bit prepared this time, which I was excited about, I guess, to some degree. I've given this talk one prior time at HackSpaceCon this spring. It's a great conference in Florida. But this entire concept has been basically built in over time through conferences, talking with everyone, meeting, expanding ideas. It first kind of came to mind as a friend of mine several years ago was interviewing for Amazon, and they asked him a question for an interview. And he said very simply, how would you convert or encode a string to emojis? And he told me about this, and I said, that's kind of interesting. And again, I don't have really necessarily formal background in development, but I love to read code and work in different languages. And I started thinking again, if that shoe concept, how do you put those pieces together? How would you tie it up? How would I convert the string into emojis? And there's so many different ways. You could do kind of like alphabet replacement, right? Kind of common. And I started thinking then more practical uses. This was several years ago, and my day job, continues and life continues. And this was just a thought experiment. So I set to the background. Getting back to about the expansion of ideas through conferences, this springtime, I was discussing this again. Well, I guess it was maybe winter, but earlier this year I was discussing it with some other colleagues and conference goers. And we said, this is actually kind of interesting. And we were looking at other implementations. We started just Googling. How are others converting strings and different things to emojis? And you start getting into some cool concepts like bit mapping. And we ran into some projects, and I will update the slides here. I apologize, don't have the resources here. It was a bit of that delay in kind of life, as I mentioned, even elevators. But the repositories that we found most interesting, they were getting into some cool schemas, basically like high base value mapping, 8 bits per emoji, sorry, 8 bits per character, 10 base 1024. And this was really interesting because you can become a little more effective. The problem with Unicode, we'll touch upon it in a bit, when you're trying to move and shift these things about, it can become not really optimal. You end up having a much larger string than you initially started working with, and we'll see in demonstration of the tool. But that's basically where this all began in our minds. How do we play with emojis and convert from strings? How does the Unicode map look? And then what are some further things you can do beyond just the cute smiley faces? So as we know, the traditional encoding for Base-64 would look like something like this. I'm sorry, I think when I have it a little bit bigger here, some of the text is getting cut off, and I apologize. Let me see if we can make the whole thing visible. Yeah, we'll go here. This is kind of what we're discussing with existing repositories. Some of these are like emoji coding 2.0, and there's various implementations trying to do similar things. One thing we didn't find was the ability to create custom schemas starting at your own Unicode point, no ability to have flexible recipes, and then meaning different base values. And then the biggest piece is beyond strings, which we'll see in a second. It's binary files, and that's where it got really fun. This chart shows kind of the recipes. I apologize. I think so the bigger font is cutting some off, and you can't see it. Switch. There we go. Catch up here. But we'll dive in, and please forgive me if anything fails or I'm a little bit slow or have some issues with it. We'll hopefully the demo runs smooth. Just to show. So I'll switch back just for explanation. Again, we had the recipes. They're defined. This one here, classic base 128. So we'll see that it's encoded as the string now. And we can do the same thing with different recipes and encoding strings. And we have defined light is the Base-64, and in typical fashion, you do have a help. This is going to be kind of hard to see in it, but it does explain. recipes. Same as you see in the presentation here, match up and kind of start to piece together the idea. So in the same way you would encode strings, you could do simply a shell command. Just take your netcat, encode that quick string, and now you have converted. You may be questioning why we'll do this. And it comes down to, I think, hopefully it's the next couple of slides, but it is being able to get past common filters. Your DOP is looking for matching on typically Base-64, and that's why I mentioned at the very beginning beyond Base-64. This entire technique, there we go. It maps to the MITRE framework as data encoding, obviously T1132, and the intention is your adversaries are attempting to make it more difficult to read the content. Simple enough. Base-64 encoding, XOR operation, different ways of making it more unrecognizable, but the intent is still the same. The same application can be applied or intent against any common files. So you could go against Etsy password and then send it, encode it, and even compress it. zlib is compatible, it's supported within the tool. And similar to what I was mentioning before with DLP detection, it's in this case using a block rule. If match 4-digit, 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 4-digit of common credit card patterns when encoded in emojis, obviously would not match. Now, to get to some interesting things, it's nice to have a tool you can just play and go, okay, let's encode some strings, let's encode some files. As part of the package, it is a defined codec. That codec Python class, you can then implement into any integration that you want to get creative with. I have a Metasploit package. I have a hack.chat, which is a open source IRC-like chat application. It's web hosted originally by Andrew Belt. Really interesting tool. And I have a demonstration here that will show client transparent coding, where the public in the hack.chat will see it as just the strings of emojis, but on the client side, you see it as the clear string text with the burger. I apologize I didn't have this queued up again, distracted just prior to the session, but if you'll bear with me for a moment, I will open it. What you're seeing right here, several of us run a side kind of conference that runs between the margins. Anytime we attend any other conference, we're also running our conference. It is not to overlap or interfere with where we are. It is to add to it and share interesting capabilities. It's where we develop ideas like this. And if I go through, so. in the page here, you'll see, and it was used within the challenges for this on or CTF that you saw, that I was just kind of putting the initial flag in for. You didn't necessarily get to see the cheat on it, but it allows the access to this Snack Chat portal. Once you get past that, the Snack Chat portal explains what's occurring, and it goes over what we just discussed prior, that it's snack-based obfuscation using emojis. Users can put the message in here. See it clearly here. And if anybody wants to check it out publicly, you can go to hack.chat /question snack _con. You'll join the room. Hack.chat does not have any persistent message storing on the servers, so you will not see the message I just sent. I'll send one from the hack chat room from public, and we can go back to did I go to the right room? We can go back to the private session. Oh, sorry, it's no underscore in the snack on. Incorrect. And there's our emoji message in the public. So this can be used in many different ways than beyond. So any typical primitive where you're going to use the Base-64 encoding, you can use emoji encoding. You'll have to be careful with the recipes or the base that you're using, because some services may not support some of the Unicode character set, so it's going to either drop or not be able to render correctly, and your message will fail. So again, with all other types of encoding, you want to verify that your message is correctly encoded prior to transmission. Let's see. Slides here. So this is the hack chat transparent client, and if anybody wants to play with it, the competition that we just saw up, it is running as a basically, if you will, conquer the hill type challenge. It is open from BSides, Connecticut now till BSides, Charleston, November 8th. And this is our fourth round running it, and we have all different kind of varied challenges, from common to rather obscure. And if anybody wants to join us, we'd be more than happy to play. Slides. So it would be probably a mistake if we didn't talk about AI in 2025 and emojis. So as we continued, I shared this, as I mentioned, first at Hackspace in the spring. And as we were playing there, I had this dream of having my request in emojis and an AI respond to me in emojis, like my own language, basically. Thought that'd be amusing. And I was hammering on it as they were releasing all different models, and so many hallucinations. The models would think they're decoding the strings and give me a reply. They would think they're encoding something and give me a reply, and I would get excited when I see some of those responses. I'd put it through and try to then decode the message. Like, it's not real. And I kept playing with it. And then Claude released, I think it was around 3.5. I have it in the documents if you go through the repo. But I think it was around 3.5 that they introduced the ability to, instead of just putting like this code for the emoji encoding into like attaching it as a file, as an instruction, that always failed. They added the ability to directly connect a repo or a GitHub to your Claude session under projects. Once I did that, it was interesting because I found my first success. And what's beautiful about Claude is you can go back and look at those conversations. So I'm going to open up that history and we can take a look at the evolution of Claude learning the Base-64 emoji encoding first, and then trying to improve the package all within requests and responses in emojis. You get to see the behind the scenes on a few projects that I've been working on if you were quick enough. This is under the one account. It's kind of fun. So the conversation started within the project. Again, I added, we can see it here, the authentication is no longer connected with that repository. But that's all I did was connect it in the project to my repo in GitHub. And I asked simply that the emoji encoder tool has been updated. Please provide some knowledge and let's communicate using the quick recipe and encode the following string, hello, HackSpaceCon 2025. I like to do the live demonstrations. We were doing it that way. And this is when I, again, was kind of getting excited. I said, here's your message, hello, HackSpaceCon 2025. I was hoping to use the library. And it was incorrect. And hold on, was that the correct one? I apologize. Let me just double check. I had two conversations. Yes, it encoded it correctly. I got excited because this was the first time that it had not hallucinated, yet gave me proper coding using the class. Going forward, then I said, thank you. This next conversation, I will use the codec for communication. So I said this, and it said this back. And I got excited. This is where I was saying. And here, because I wanted to be stubborn, and I can put it into the decoder. I told it, your previous message failed to decode. Try again in response, an emoji. Because didn't want to reply back in just ASCII. I wanted to be stubborn, just keep demanding, hey, we want to talk with this Python library. I know you can encode, let's do it. And if we look at the analysis, it's interesting because it took the initial library and it kind of optimized it while still being valid. And that's where some of the initial failures. And we could see where it takes that encoded message that I provided. And this is the text it wants to encode. I understand the assignment. Let me create an improvement. So it was already trying to improve for me. It was really funny. I've noticed, and probably most have, if you're playing with any AI, that they always room for improvement and very optimistic about it, which is great. but it basically says, so here, and this is where I was continuing to see success. Your previous message failed to decode. Try again in response to an emoji, what I showed to decode it. And at that point, it really did understand, and it continued to have a conversation. We look at analysis of basically trying to improve the project itself. I find this exciting because it opens up in my mind all kinds of possibilities. I think the emojis are really interesting because it provides a visual representation of different encoding schemas that may not be standard or common. And if you then think outside of that, within really the same application, you could go further along the Unicode chart to the unrenderable blocks. So your entire uh, defined schema will just look like square, square, or question, block with question mark. And when you're then looking back at something that's encoded, it'd be very challenging to understand what that actually is. I apologize that it was a little bit not as prepared or organized that I'd hoped to be. And I hope it was interesting. I'd be more than happy to discuss more about the tool or the concepts with anybody after. Just to show you a couple of things real quick that we didn't necessarily have time. This is what a file looks like when it is encoded. And so again, long string of emojis. And if to decode that, oh, no space. Again, error, there's a space too many. That's how it goes. Oh my gosh. Decode. That is that my issue. Oh my gosh. Oh, no file. Sorry. On strings, you indicate with the quotes since it's a file. I have to do F, binary decoded. I apologize. There we go. And you have to use the correct recipe or base type because it would not decode correctly. And if we then look at our output image, output decoded test, probably have to rename that, right? I had removed you specified -O for your output, and we look at our decoded image. There we go. So I hope this was interesting. Does anyone have any questions? I know I took up probably right to the edge. Yes. If we're going to, let's ask. Yes. Yes, thank you. Just for matter of sake of time. That's fine. This is the repo. And I had hoped to have a development branch. It's a BSides strong development branch that has a bit of the extra integrations like hack.chat and a signal integration if you want to play with sending emojis to your friends with a custom signal app. So those will be uploaded most likely this afternoon as I have a moment to take a breath, get some lunch that I missed after the little bit of a fun event. But it's been an amazing time and I really appreciate it. I know there were a couple other hands over here.
The coding, it's like the standard base-64 128, just mapping.
Exactly. And it's if you look through the code and in the documentation, I tried to do a decent job in explaining how the class works. And there is an option to utilize your own custom schema. You can get weird with it. You could do a base 68 and a weird starting point on the map. You can have a weird bits per chunk as well. That is in a longer like workshop style. That's what I would hope to cover in the future as this talk develops. Anyone else? Thank you so much, and I really appreciate the time.